All right. This is Strange Christmas and Sans Undertale the fight. I remember I made this around what, like December-ish. I wanted to do like a Christmas special, but because I didn't do a Halloween video this year, I also in 2019 I also wanted to make it like Halloweenish. So I had all these Halloween aesthetics because I actually really like Halloween as an aesthetic, and as a thing, as a place to do things. Let me just up the quality a bit. I'm actually pretty I actually really like how this opening kind of came out because there's a lot of moving parts, especially in like this establishing shot here. You see the snakes running, you see the skeleton being chased or chasing the two guys, the two Patreons, which are Cupid 2.0 and Ichi Insane. And then you can see the rat running, and then you see the spider on the wall, and then the strange boys, the strange and Wong come out. And I kind of just like this whole like chaos that's going on, and even though it's not like a whole lot because these are tight angles, I still like the energy that's in them, and even like the penguins and stuff. It's fun. I like to think those are the penguins of Madagascar. And this whole project as a whole, I think I made this because I really wanted to make a Doctor Strange video because I really like the Doctor Strange minifigure. I think there's something, I don't know what it is about it. I'm drawn to it. It's very aesthetically pleasing. I also like Wong. We have to go to hell. Yeah, and then I know this is actually something I kind of knew, is that Dormammu doesn't actually live in hell. He lives in the dark dimension. It's Mephisto that lives in hell. But didn't really mind bending the rules a bit because it's just like at the end of the day there's fighting. That's the whole point. And then we're bringing back Thor from the heist video because the heist, he got messed up by the gamer, and then he got messed up at the restaurant. So now he has something to prove. He's like, I'm like insecure now. It's similar to Thor's Endgame arc, I guess. I guess it's the exact same thing. He's disgraced as a gamer, same game and everything, like. But Thor heeds the call to adventure. And this was also the first appearance of Strong Doctor too. This is at this point actually I remember Strong Doctor was actually a character I did want to play around with, just like the idea of a doctor who's like really strong for no reason and fights crime, while also being a really like cool and skilled doctor, while also just being like a kind person. So basically like Superman, but as a doctor and not actually invincible. And then there's Hell, and I actually like this Hell setting is actually the same. I use the same background as I did for the Greatest Policeman of All Time finale, which is just like the orange Bristol board. And I upped the contrast and saturation a bit to make it that much more, I guess, reddish, poppin'. I really like this bit of animation too, is when Dormammu was like trying to get on, and he just gets pushed off. I'm actually pretty happy with how Dormammu came out too as a minifigure. There's no actual Dormammu figure, but there's a pumpkin. And that kind of has the same sort of like facial expression as Dormammu, so might as well just try and use that. And the flames in the background, yeah, every single like frame in this in this like particular setting is a unique frame unless you don't see the flames, because I had to spin those flames just a tiny bit, each individual one for each frame. So all this isn't CGI. That was me just doing it by hand while Thor was standing still. Sometimes you gotta get those details in, man. It's what really brings everything in together. And then, Dormammu, of course, isn't actually the perpetrator here. And it's strange, like, doing something like this, you kind of have a story in mind. But looking back on it now, I'm really, like, I don't necessarily seem to remember my thought process too much going into it. I think it's just general things I wanted to happen in a video. Of course, this introduces Sans into the mix. Dormammu just kind of dies. And now they're in Sans' domain, which is just the battle screen from Undertale. And then we get into the Sans fight. And the Sans fight took me a little too long to make, I think. This was actually in the middle of Christmas. This was like in the set like late December at this point. At some point, I remember going to my family's Christmas party and everything. So sadly, this didn't come out in time for Christmas or anything, but I'm actually pretty happy with it came out, because it was like 5 minutes of video, and it was like a long fight too, and a lot of you seem to enjoyed it. Also really so when it came to Sans, I've seen a lot of depictions of Sans in fan-made media, like on YouTube videos and stuff, where people try to voice act Sans, and for some reason a lot of people it never sat right with a lot of people. I think because like with Sans' voice particularly, so many people have their own interpretation of what it is. when they're playing the game or something or reading dialogue. So I wanted to keep that. I didn't want to like when it came to like a character like this, who a lot of people care a lot about. In fact, a lot of people don't like this video because Sans loses at the end. But I wanted to make sure that, you know, I kept it with the text. That was his way of speaking, so that way people can preserve, like, sort of preserve their own interpretation of the character, even though he's in Lego. But it's important for that because, you know, like, when a character doesn't have like a distinguished voice, you know, like Thor kind of has like the bravado, like sort of like Shakespearean tone. Doctor Strange is more narcissistic kind of, but not really. He's more magical, I guess. So those are like voices with more predetermined sort of characteristics. So as long as a voice actor can sort of portray those characteristics, it won't really matter. But Sans is completely different. You don't know what his voice actually sounds like. Nobody does. You know, so it's all up to imagination. Ooh. And then the karma as well, the HP. I actually like really like this game, Undertale. Also, this remix of Mambo Number 5 in Megalovania by Off Topic. Or is it On Topic? I'm really happy he gave me the instrumental because, man, I think this music really makes the whole scene as a whole. And yeah, this whole fight scene, I was kind of just like, you know, trying to figure out how can these three characters all fight with each other. And of course, Sans is very powerful. He can like, you know, take your heart. He can take it blue and just toss you everywhere. The karma, of course, is a very big role to play. So I wanted to have that. Again, you can see it. Boom. Plays again, and he gets punched by Richard Nixon and Kenny Boy, the guy who shot him at the restaurant in the heist video. And I wanted to like sort of have that as a callback to like Thor's other failures in this sort of I don't want to call it a universe, but like in this whole story, I wanted to like sort of like give little bits and pieces that indicate previous videos are like those moments not only have existed in this timeline, but also have an impact in the future. So, I don't know. I guess I kind of like that kind of consistency. I think it's the MCU that, like, you know, like, that really, like, a lot of people like that, and I think it's because of the MCU. It's just, you know, it's interesting. It really makes everything feel like more of a living, breathing world. It ties everything together. And yeah, again, all those, yes, they happen to this same Thor. And now he realizes, oh man, I've been failing so much. I can't fail anymore. And you know, blah blah blah. Determination, and now he's determined, which once again lends into the whole Undertale vibes, because determination's a big part of that. And I really like with how the Sans fight came out, just because, you know, all this is just, it was fun, and I really like playing with these characters that have so much power. And Sans, of course, falls. And a lot of people don't like that ending, and I get it. Sans is crazy, and he has a lot of fans. I'm a Sans fan as well. But this was Thor's story at the end of the day, and I don't see Thor. I mean, like, I see Thor losing to Sans, but I also see Thor like beating Sans as well. I think it's like I don't think it's completely unreasonable to have Thor be the victor, especially considering how durable he is, and he's magical, and like he controls lightning and stuff like. But yeah, Sans is also very powerful. Anyways, yeah, that was the whole video, and I like the way it ended too, like the Night Before Christmas joke. And as a whole, like, you know, this kind of completes the Thor arc. Although I want to make more Thor videos in the future, I don't know. Like, I'd have to wait until I can kind of like come up with a good idea for him, because this whole Thor thing, especially with Avengers Endgame coming out last year, there's this whole emphasis on him being a gamer, and I kind of wanted to introduce that stuff. And given that I want to do more video game related stuff in the future as well, you know, I can definitely see Thor still having like a big role to play. Doctor Strange is also fun. I really like his abilities, though I don't think that currently, like, with the level of production I'm able to sort of bring out, I'll be able to really do the character justice, because Doctor Strange has some crazy stuff. He has like the mirror dimension, the portals and stuff, and given the time I have to make these videos, I don't know if I'll ever be able to truly go wild with it, which is unfortunate. But hopefully one day. You never know. One day, you might completely exceed your own expectations. As, you know, like, it's just kind of the continuous growth of a person throughout their life. And that's also something I kind of want to, like, emphasize as well in my own videos, through the characters. You know, in this particular episode, Thor grows as a person. And that's just, what we should all strive for. We should all recognize our own failures, but we shouldn't let our own failures sort of, throw us into a pit of despair. What we should do is we should acknowledge them, but also try and learn from them as much as possible. It's just just how it be. I don't know if it's not a new thing to say. It's 100% not. But it's something I feel like a lot of people know of, but don't really enforce in their own lives. And now I seem like I'm on my high horse. I'm definitely guilty of doing this too as well, especially especially when I was in high school, and even as early as last year. You can find yourself guilty to like going through some great crisis in your life, and sort of being like sort of like wallowing in a pit of despair, and thinking about all the other bad times in your life. But ultimately, I think you have to. Those are necessary to build your character, to build yourself into someone stronger, to be able to tackle the things going forward with more, grace and style and grace. This Kong has a funny face, and this last part I like a lot too, because it was just like the one take, which I'm a big fan of, because I don't know, I like the way it's choreographed and how you can see all the action. That's why I really like one takes, is because they're very clear, and that's the one thing that I usually try to take advantage of whenever I go for them. There's another bit I really liked here too. It was when Strange used his cape. Where was it? Because I wanted to show sort of how I did that. Okay, let's see if I can find it. And the way I did it essentially was, because Doctor Strange's cape is actually two parts. It's the collar and the cape itself. Okay, it's coming up. So as you can see, and the way I would actually connect these two pieces without his neck, because again, these two pieces, the cape and the neck piece, I don't know, the collar, they're usually kept together by Doctor Strange's body and head, snapping in towards each other. But you don't really have that when it's supposed to be flying. So what I instead did was I just used that little brick that you can actually see right now. And that brick was it was two studs connected by like a tile piece, and then the tile piece extended out further backwards, and that part I hid. That part I messed out. And it's actually attached to a rig, and that's how I caused it to move. I wonder if there's actually any. Okay, you can kind of see a bit of the tile extending out towards the left, but it moves so fast so you don't really notice it when it's in motion. And that was probably the most difficult challenge I had to face in this video, is just kind of figuring out how to get that to work. Aside from that, everything else was just kind of business as usual. And I think one of the reasons why it took so long is just because it was Christmas time and I was doing a lot of shopping, and Christmas time as a whole is just kind of a hectic time. But that's pretty much all I have to really say about both of these videos. Out of these three, the Heist, A Strange Christmas, and Sans Endgame, I definitely see why Sans Endgame is definitely the most popular, because it's probably the best. And it really does lead to this whole climactic battle, which I'm really happy for. Though I do wish the first two parts were just a little bit stronger. Oh well, what can you really do? Alright, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys. I'm gonna try get more commentaries ASAP, especially now that we're under quarantine. It's just sometimes hard, especially when I have to focus on the regular video output as well. Sometimes it'll take literally like the one I just made. I'll actually get into that one. Spider-Man Rent to Pay. I'll probably get into that one next, but the production for that was literally all day, every day. Anyways, I'll see you guys when I cover that.